Denise, thank you to be here with us today in Monaco on the occasion of Lim Conference to share Norfolk experience regarding smart city and electric mobility, and more generally an American point of view. So could you rapidly explain us why Norfolk is committed to smart city development?
Virginie, thank you. Norfolk's vision is to be a premier waterfront community that creates a positive regenerative effect on its environment, avoids environmental impacts that are detrimental, and also thrives economically and thrives culturally. Our city council established environmental sustainability as one of its top 6 priorities. And this is very important because those priorities define and guide a shared vision for the city of Norfolk. And smart city development, including sustainable transportation, supports our vision. So we're delighted to be part of your conference.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Norfolk is a hub for military services, but not only. I discovered that Norfolk City is an expert in other economic activities in the fields of maritime and transportation, technology and energy, such as wind power, bio and medical. The city also hosts many American businesses' corporate headquarters. So Denise, could you explain us how Norfolk drives its competitiveness and its attractiveness for convincing innovative businesses and skilled people to an economy connected and sustainable development to join and be part of this global strategy?
Absolutely. So one goal for the city of Norfolk is to develop strong neighborhoods where people want to live, and each neighborhood has its own identity, excuse me, and its own design. So Norfolk's neighborhoods have a very well-defined sense of identity that reflects their unique history, their architecture, and the physical environment. And since we have more than 144 miles of shoreline, we also have lots of opportunities for people to enjoy waterfront living. And so how do we know that Norfolk is globally competitive? In a wonderful recognition of our growing attractiveness as a place to live, work, and play, the National Civic League selected the city of Norfolk as an All-America City for 2013. And the reason that we were selected were really 3 things. One is our innovative and nationally recognized approach to flooding, which we'll talk about, I think, a little bit later. The second is our support for veterans. And the third is our program called Neighbors Building Neighborhoods, which is a civic initiative that has become very successful. And another interesting way that Norfolk's been recognized is we've been called the place to live. Actually, our downtown 23510 zip code is called the 3rd best hipster neighborhood in the United States. Which is kind of fun. That's actually where I live, so we were delighted to hear that. The zip also includes the historic neighborhood of West Freemason, which the American Planning Association named as one of the top 10 best great neighborhoods in the U.S. And these recognitions point to one of the most important aspects of Norfolk's attractiveness, and that is because we're a relatively old city, not as far as European cities go, but certainly an old city for the US. We have buildings where people can live and work that have historic architecture that can be 200, 100, 200, 300 years old. And very few US cities can make that claim. So Norfolk's unique architectural features really can't be duplicated. You couldn't do that now and go back in history. And they make Norfolk's downtown especially highly desirable. And you may have heard preservationists say that the best, most sustainable building is one that is already constructed. Just a little bit more about the American Planning Association. The state chapter of the American Planning Association recognized Norfolk's Plan Norfolk 2030, which is our long-term comprehensive plan, as the state's outstanding plan. What's especially important about that is that plan incorporates greater awareness of environmental challenges such as flooding and sea rise, and it also includes many more transportation options, light rail, and the desire to become more bikeable and walkable as part of a more balanced transportation network for Norfolk. So just a couple other things. Entrepreneur Magazine named Norfolk one of the top 5 U.S. cities for entrepreneurs in 2013. And Norfolk also supports the recruitment and expansion of green businesses. So the state and the federal government have initiatives to expand offshore wind sites off the coast of Virginia, which will provide lots of supply chain options for manufacturing, both for Norfolk and for other cities in the area. And we'll continue to coordinate with the Virginia Port Authority and also with colleges, universities, and our medical institutions to attract spin-off investments in research and development. And they also provide good opportunities for training. And just a little final note, we recognize that the arts are extremely important in Norfolk. So including the Arts Festival, the opera, we have a Chrysler Museum, botanical gardens. So all these together make it a great place.
Okay. So one of Norfolk's main concerns for environmental issues, transportation. So Denise, can you explain us the city strategy for urban planning, public transport, provided solution for population and tourists?
Yes, absolutely. Norfolk has a comprehensive transportation system, which is really rare among cities of our size. We have about 244,000 people, and it offers a wide variety of choices while also serving as a regional transportation hub. Interestingly, when we were doing some research for another project, we learned that there's evidence that people, Coastal Plains Indians, lived in this area as long as 14,000 to 17,000 years ago, and they used the rivers as their transportation network. So we've really been the leading business, cultural, educational, medical center for a long time, and we remain committed to leading sustainable transportation. That's about moving people and goods in ways that are cleaner, greener, safer, healthier, better connected, better for the economy, and also more fun. So in fact, you can get around Norfolk almost in any way imaginable. You can walk, of course. You can ride a bike or take a ferry, a public ferry or a private water taxi. Downtown, we have pedicabs in the summer, and we have something called FRED, which stands for Free Ride Every Day. And that's actually a green vehicle. It's both painted green and it's an environmentally friendly battery-powered vehicle with a solar roof that is used just to take people around downtown. We have helicopter pads, a light rail system, a regional bus system, ride sharing for car and van pools, Amtrak passenger train service, a cruise ship terminal, Norfolk International Airport, and we offer heavy rail for freight transport. So we continue to plan for a multimodal transportation system. And even though the automobile is expected to continue as the primary means of commuting, the development of a multimodal transportation network to emphasize public transit, bicycling, and pedestrian, we think will help reduce dependence on the automobile and sustain our position, again, as the business, cultural, educational, and medical center of Hampton Roads. And maybe one final point, our continued ability to move people and goods efficiently throughout the region is important for sustaining this role, because we're a major transport, with the port and freight, major transport center as well.
Okay, so Denise, does Norfolk provide public systems for electric car, e-bike sharing services and charging station?
You know, we have talked about this and extensively when we were working on Plan Norfolk 2030, which is our land use plan and our general plan. And we've talked about it in terms of specific projects, such as the courthouse. We have a new courthouse under construction that will be a LEED certified building. But we don't yet have public charging systems for cars. We're a little bit behind there. I think the market might not yet be there for us. But we do provide bicycles for city employees to get around town, and that's pedal powered.
Okay. So regarding experience for implementing mobility systems, how does the city proceed? Do you first start by an experiment which leads you to a choice of implementation? How do you choose your partners for mobility? What are the most important points for Norfolk in selecting its partners for mobility?
This is a really good question. And in Norfolk, we start with our neighborhoods. Norfolk is a city of neighborhoods, and they're essential components of the physical and social character of our city. They provide a variety of housing choices in terms of density, style, price. Lots of people live on the water. Many of our neighborhoods include commercial, industrial, or institutional uses, and we have mixed development. And so these uses, in combination with other things such as historic landmarks, parks, our open spaces, our churches and other religious institutions, represent community assets that establish the unique identity of each neighborhood. So we start with the neighborhoods, and we have more than 125 active neighborhood civic leagues registered within the city. And we go there first. As for instance, when we were laying out the route for our light rail system, we went first to the civic leagues and made sure that the 9 stations were in places that those individual civic leagues would support. So because mobility also is part of our long-range planning process, we can easily implement techniques such as transit-oriented development near the route, near the light rail stations, as well as mixed-use development. And what we found is that consequently more and more people are returning downtown and to Norfolk's other walkable neighborhoods. You might hear of Gant or Ward's Corner. And in fact, just this year, we'll be adding almost 700 housing units, and we expect to bring probably 1,000 new residents downtown.
Does Norfolk City provide its population with a connected and social experience related to public transports and internet, smartphones or tablets? Denise, could you explain us more about Norfolk ICT projects about sustainable mobility and smart city?
Sure, this is a great topic. Every day, new information and communication technologies help people get around better in our region. As an example, the regional bus system offers a Google Transit trip planner, so you can go online and make your route the most efficient way possible with all the bus times, etc. There's a private company, Elizabeth River Crossing, that's using an EasyPass transponder to collect tolls. So rather than the traditional pull up and stop and pay cash, you can just drive right through and use the transponder to collect the tolls. So we also have some great geographic information and mapping systems that are available, including flood zone mapping. These are all available for public use. And interestingly, one of our mapping systems for the Mason Creek watershed is interactive. So residents can log on and make reports or take pictures of places where they might be observing flooding in their neighborhood. A little bit different application is not a city project, but it's a citizen-based environmental monitoring network, and it's called Eyes on the River. And it uses communication technology both to promote environmental stewardship and education about the diversity of wildlife that lives in Norfolk, particularly on the rivers and streams. And Eyes on the River also is building a network of what they call citizen first responders. And they can come to the, or they'll aid actually with ongoing river monitoring and restoration efforts. So we have a community of river spotters that post their observations of the Lafayette River, including maybe algae blooms, wildlife sightings, fish that they've caught, photos, locations, and dates, along with their reports. And that's available to anybody who logs on to the Facebook page. There are also what they call river posts that are physical posts that are in designated places along the river on the banks of the Lafayette. And they're set up as a way to increase outreach to the community and build a time series of conditions in our estuary. So we'll have photos over time that would show how a a part of the river is being restored or a wetland is being restored. And these are all volunteers, which is a really wonderful part of that project. So volunteers plus ICT communications.
Okay. Regarding information and communication and sharing experiences with Norfolk population and visitors, how does the city manage to raise awareness to change behaviors for the use of eco-friendly means of transport?
There's a couple different ways that we do this, and I'm sure that some other cities will have ways that we could learn about too. But in Norfolk, one of the key ways is our investments and improvements to public space, such as landscaping, decorative sidewalks and crosswalks. We have signs, we have beautiful banners with the mermaid on it, which is our logo, and other similar elements are enhancements that strengthen the neighborhood's identity, and they also create a more pleasant walking environment for people, walking, biking, walking with your pets or with children. We're also part of a regional program that's called AskHRGreen.org, and it's an awareness program for the 16 cities and counties in our area that encourages environmental stewardship. And the idea was to develop a central go-to resource for everything green in Hampton Roads, from earth-friendly landscaping ideas, pointers for keeping our local waterways debris and litter-free, to recycling tips, and simple steps to make local living what we call easy on the environment. And then finally, also businesses are contributing really to the general cultural awareness of eco-friendly transport and behaviors. So the Port of Virginia has what they call a Green Operators or GO program, and they provide actual rebates to retrofit older vehicles with more emission-efficient engines. Norfolk Southern Railroad has its corporate headquarters here in Norfolk, and they strive to be the industry leader in all areas of corporate sustainability. The firm has been ranked as top railroad in the Standard & Poor's 500 Clean Capitalism ranking. They've been ranked as the top U.S. railroad in Newsweek's 2012 Green Rankings, and they were named to Inbound Logistic Magazine's 2012 list of 75 green supply chain partners. So it starts in the neighborhoods and really builds throughout the city, including businesses.
Mm-hmm. Due to know-how in businesses' activities, Norfolk is designing its policy as a model in terms of smart city. Denise, could you explain us why it is so important for Norfolk to be part of this leadership?
We talked earlier about Norfolk and its position as a cultural, educational, legal, and financial leader in the region. Norfolk is also a leader, and we're finding maybe not just across the U.S., but globally, in adapting to coastal flooding. Like many other coastal areas, Norfolk is susceptible to flooding, and for the city of Norfolk, flooding and sea level rise really is the defining challenge for the 21st century, and the city is fully engaged in addressing it through a comprehensive approach. So in addition to things like beach renourishment and wetlands restoration, we're addressing our buildings and how the built environment interacts with flooding. Just this last November, City Council changed our construction standards for building elevations and raised them from 1 foot to 3 feet, which is the highest in the region, and established criteria for when existing structures need to be elevated. In addition to reduce incidents of tidal flooding, though, on a large and meaningful scale, barriers such as seawalls and tide gates will be needed, and they can be quite expensive. We've estimated that for the whole city, a total of about $1 billion. But we have help with this. Norfolk's working with the 100 Resilient Cities Global Network, sponsored by the Rockefeller Foundation, as well as we're one of 8 cities in Rockefeller Foundation's Reinvest initiative. Mm-hmm. So we're not by ourselves, and are happy to share what we've learned as well as to learn from other localities.
Okay, so I guess Norfolk initiatives are constantly undertaken in a way of improvement. What are the next steps for mobility and for the city of Norfolk?
Something that we're very excited about is about extending our light rail system. Light rail really is, we call it a starter rail, and it's about almost 7.5 miles of rail right now. It's always been envisioned as a regional system, and it's the first leg of what really can become an integrated rail network that would move large numbers of people efficiently, really through the region from home to work. Major metropolitan areas all across the U.S. have pursued light rail, and in fact, we're the smallest city in the country to achieve this goal. And all the good things that can be accomplished by closely lacing the region together with the light rail system. So relief from congestion, economic development opportunities, environmental and quality of life improvements have made that effort more than worthwhile. So the statistics really are supporting expansion of light rail. Daily ridership on our light rail system, which is called the Tide, it continues to run between 4,000 and 5,000 people, which is the equivalent of nearly 100 buses full of people. And that we're taking off the road, and those figures are far above what we expected. We really expected about half that. So we're delighted with ridership, and we find that we're moving a portion, probably a significant portion of people who otherwise would be driving alone in the region and easing congestion and travel time, which helps people as well as moving freight through the region. So after just 2.5 years of operation, light rail has proven to be a safe, reliable, and on-time mode of transportation that should be expanded to the city of Virginia Beach nearby and really elsewhere in the region. So right now in Norfolk, we're studying taking light rail to the Old Dominion University, which is a few miles away from where light rail now ends, and out to the Navy base.
Denise, considering your Norfolk experience, could you explain us why committing to a smart city policy should be considered in America and anywhere else as an opportunity for economic, social, and environmental sides?
I think that the purpose of a city is to enable people to live together as meaningfully and as conveniently as possible. And so inclusive and sustainable cities that can learn and can adapt and can innovate can achieve this purpose of convenience and meaning. I think it's worth remembering that we're just a few years removed from one of the most challenging economic downturns in our nation's history, but our economy has really showed remarkable resiliency. The city's budget is well managed. We saw our already excellent bond rating upgraded by Standard & Poor's, and we've really fared, I think, better than some parts of the country thanks to a diversified economy and a workforce that's equipped with skills that they're needed to compete within our region as well as in the U.S. and abroad. And so stewardship of our resources is necessary for continued success. In fact, it's critical. Our resources include environmental resources that you would think of, such as air, water, land and soil, trees, birds, fish and forests, and the entire natural world. Our economic resources include jobs, businesses, and the infrastructure, such as our transportation network that supports our economy. And finally, our social resources are our institutions such as churches and schools, synagogues, and most importantly, our children, and they all need care to thrive. So smart city and other sustainable urban development policies, the beauty of smart city is provides a structure to achieve wise stewardship of our resources.
Okay. So, as a concrete example for attracting people and businesses in city development goals, Lim is designed to provide a response for cities, bringing together public and private actors, students, researchers, and people for sharing experiences about mobility in cities through a digital and real-life experience designed to bring closer mobility innovators and their potential end users. Lim is also about to be launched in the United States of America, thanks to an American woman who's very experienced in sustainable development and mobility, and who is bilingual American and Spanish, in order to support the development of sustainable mobility in smart cities. Denise, regarding your experience in Norfolk and more generally in the USA, do you think Lim Initiative is a good additional mean to contribute to local, national, and international empowerment about Norfolk City development goals, and more generally about American cities such as Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, Miami, Raleigh, in California, in America, major cities such as New York, San Francisco, San Jose?
Virginia, we're just now learning about LIM, and we're excited to understand and learn more about how it could really help U.S. cities. Locally, there's a group called Women in Transportation, and they meet regularly and talk about different ways that they can help each other out and achieve more professionally. So it seems that it's something that might have great potential.
Okay. So, as a Norfolk City representative, what kind of messages would you like to spread about smart cities and transportation policies? What messages for city, mobility, private actors, and people?
So really this message, I think, applies to everyone. Every day we have opportunities to make choices. So every day as we work, as we travel, as we shop, or as we enjoy leisure, we can choose environmentally friendly alternatives. It can be choosing to walk rather than to drive to go shopping. It could be choosing to recycle rather than throw away trash and rubbish, or it could be choosing to compost. It could be selecting a durable coffee mug rather than styrofoam or coffee. Maybe riding your bike, riding a bus, or taking light rail to get to work a couple times a week. The wonderful thing about smart cities and sustainable transportation policies is that they can make it easier for people to make environmentally friendly choices, and that benefits all of us.
Thank you very much, Denise, for being with us today, sharing Norfolk experience. Norfolk is one of the main places to be to drive change for smart cities and transportation plans, but also for learning how to take into account climate change risks in the policymaking. The smart city movement is also inspired by the dynamism of the economic sector of Norfolk City. Thanks, Denise, for your support and participation in Lim Conference. Have a nice day, Norfolk.
Thank you.
Thank you.